So in trying to recreate the RPG system, the first thing I wanted to do was actually quite literally recreate it. I wanted to look at what I had, break it down, and then refine it in the way that it's connecting to things while it's still having the future-proofing of the different ideas I had coming. So what I'm going to do is jump over to Notion and show you exactly how I've rebuilt the full system effectively in a much more clean and simple way. So here we are in Notion, and the actual interface itself is based on a couple of different databases that are talking to each other based on the values they have inside. So these ones that are making up most, if not all, of the first version of the RPG system is the player avatar. So this is the main interface that shows you who your character is, what level they are, so on and so forth. The quests, which are your individual tasks and how they're aligning to each other. The experience and levels, which is based on how many tasks you've done, what value they're worth, and how much that's leveling you up in the progress of however far you're going. Then there's the habits, so the daily things that you are doing and tracking those to make sure that your health is not getting damaged, which then takes us to the health tracking, which is seeing if your health has been damaged, seeing if you've healed yourself with an item. And then same sort of thing when it comes to experience, we have the gold tracking, so that's a value based on the amount of tasks you've done, how much you've gained in gold, and then also how much you've spent. And in order to do that, we have to have a shop that then also shows all this. Now, that's the basic overview of how these work. I'm actually going to go through for the rest of this video, explain how each of these works and how they're talking to each other. And I'll do it in a way that hopefully is a little bit more understanding than just going, this connects to this, connects to this, and yeah. So to start off with, we'll jump into the player avatars, which is the main interface. And for that, I'll need to just quickly swap over interfaces. Okay, so you can see that this is the main basic player avatar interface. So the way it works is you have your character, an image, the name of it. For this, I've just done testing because I'm still in the testing phase of this. The overall level of what you are, how much health, experience, and gold you have, and then your habits here that you can click to make sure that you've ticked it off. Now, the way it basically works, if I open this up, is that there is these main interfaces with other little things down here. But the actual main things that you're seeing each time are going to be these tag options. So the values themselves, I'll show how they work in a second once I've started connecting everything. But the first thing I wanted to make sure was, when I was working on this interface, I wanted it to be more than just a basic Notion template. I wanted to have an aesthetic that actually felt like it was more than just, oh, here's this data and whatnot. The way we do that is in Notion, there is a style tag. Let me just jump back over into this interface so you can see it a little bit better. So this style tag is actually something that is really, really handy to make it look a little bit more aesthetic. So I have like a background that's gray, which you can see here, which is gray background. And then I have avatar color, which is this little aspect up here. And this is one of the ways that I've created so that it has a little bit more customization to the actual user. So the way it works is if I change the color to say purple, all of these values here now have that slight change that give that user a more control over the way that they want their interface to be. Likewise, you can upload a picture and whatnot. But the tags themselves are a very powerful thing. So if you start playing around with the actual, style tags, you can really create these interfaces that feel more personalized to the user and much more professional than just, oh, here's a generic Notion template. Where most of the heavy lifting is done in this is just linking to all these different aspects. So you can see here we have like the habits here, you can name them and whatnot. And then we have the values that are actually like the player level, the player experience and whatnot. Instead of showing you how the code works, I want to explain how the actual interface works. So if I jump over here, just double check I know where I'm working. Cool, working from there, lovely. So to start off with, we have the player avatar. And that's that little interface you just saw. This is the one in which the character will actually be able to see all the data. So you have your levels, your experience, your gold, so on and so forth. From there, that is then connecting to all the other databases. So to start off with, we'll have our quests. So these are all the things that you need to do. So it is getting data based on the quests done. So these are going, hey, if my character is this person, show them their quests, which are the list of quests. So it's just like, do this, do this, do this, do this. From there, I'll just get rid of that to clean it up a little bit. From there, when you complete a quest, it is then sending that information to a bunch of different databases. The first one is experience. And this is going, this quest here is worth a certain amount of experience, and then send that as an individual entry and create a new entry into the experience. So let me show you how that little part works. So if we go here, we open up quests and experience. Quests are, no, I might have to go to the left line for this one. There we go. The quest is basically, okay, let me create a new task. The due date is just set automatically to right now, but that's when you go through and you set, okay, maybe I want to finish it by the 25th of this month. Then date completed, you don't touch because that's an automated thing when this is done. And then you have your impact. So let's say I'm going impact 5, quest type main. If I open this up and I go back to this angle, and I want to open it in the full page, you can see that there is these values of experience and gold. So experience is based on, if the quest type is main, you're going to be doubling the amount. If it's anything else, it's a normal amount. And from there, it's going to check to see if the date completed is true, which means the task is actually complete. If it's so, it's just going to be basically going, hey, here is the value of the experience. But if you have a finish date that is ahead of time, you can now actually get more experience if you finished it ahead of time. If you're delayed in it, you'll be getting less experience for the overall task. These values are based on effectively just how important you've defined this. So if I change this back down to 2, you'll see that goes to 20, also 200. And the gold value is pretty much the same. It's just it's lesser value, so you're not earning insane amounts of gold every time you finish a task. And that's the main part of how this is working. Once done, we actually have the complete button, which is just marking it as done, setting date completed to now, which helps out that task value. Then the experience is basically creating a new page in it, going task completed, person who clicked this button, so we can actually start tracking who the user who has finished tasks is, in case you have a shared database of tasks. Quest log is this page, and then the player avatar, in this case, is testing. I'm going to be reworking that so it's a little bit better. And the same for gold tracking. So the way it works is, let's say, go here, I finish this task, so I have to go back into quests so I can actually tick it off properly. You can see now there is a date completed, and if I jump back to here, you can see there is also the status done. And what this has done now is, if I go back to experience, it's created a new task here, logged the amount of experience it has, and then basically just linked it up to certain things. So if we go back to here, now that we have this, and we've logged our experience, well, what can we do with that? Well, we have a series of levels. Well, that's not how you spell level. And if we have our level at set amounts of experience per thing, so if we have the first level at 0, so you always start at level 1, the second level we can go to 1800. But what it's doing is, for each entry in here that you log, it's then taking all of those entries, going and adding them up, and then putting that into level, comparing it, going, okay, do you have enough experience to be level 2? Okay, if you do, we will then grab this value, I'll try and do this so it's neater, and we'll go back to the player avatar, and that's how we get our level value. So you can see it here. It's just grabbing, if the levels is empty, just set it to level 1. If not, however, we're just grabbing the amount of experience that we have over here, and then the amount of experience needed for the next level, which is a value I'll show you in a second, and then just going, okay, cool, show us the lowest value from all of those that are not ticked, or that are ticked. And that shows us level 1. And to show you exactly what I mean, I'll click into levels. And this is probably the emptiest one. Now, go here. And you can see, all it is a value of level 2, 1800, level 3, 4200. And these are how much experience you'll need in order to get this level. And then we've just connected it to our player avatars. Again, we'll connect this to every single avatar that gets created. Because again, going forward, I am making a multiplayer. So I have to think about that when I'm actually designing all of this as well. The formula for this one's pretty easy. It's just rounding a number, so we have good round numbers up to 2.2 zeros at the end. And we're just taking whatever the level is, so over here, this value, and then we're timesing it to the power of 1.5, so that we have a consistent growth in the amount of experience we need each time. And then just, timesing it by 10 and then making it a decimal point that we then round up. So you can see as we go through, it has the same amount of difference each time when it comes to this. So it takes the previous one, times it by 1.5, and then adds that to the other one. So 1800 plus 1800 to the power of 1.5 is then 4200. This is all just math stuff, and it automatically does it based on whatever level you want. So you can't see it on the screen right now, but to get to level 100, you need 999,000 points. And yeah, from there we can just assess on this one, once again, what your player level is based on the experience that you have. And you can see here I have 257 out of 1800, so I know that now I need to get, 1600 or 1550 roughly to get to the next level. So that is how the overall quest system and experience works. That in itself is all that is needed to make sure you are keeping that progress. The next parts that I really started playing around with is when we start getting into the health tracking. So this is based on your habits and your basically day-to-day things you are doing to upkeep yourself in a way that shows you are not taking all this damage. So to do that, we have a basic habit tracker that gets generated every single day. It has connections to each of the health tracking options, which I'll show you in a second. The player avatar, which is that testing main thing that we've done. The player that is actually connected to it. So in this case, my Notion account is connected to it. And then 3 habits that we just have to check out every day that are linked to the buttons on the player avatar, which is making sure we're doing them each day. So you can see that I ticked off habit 1. So when I go to habits, that first box is ticked. That's all that is doing. The whole thing here is figuring out the damage value. And that's just, ignore the shot part for now, but it's going, if the format of the created time is today, do not mark anything down, because we want it to make sure that the damage is only taken the day after you've done the habits, because there's no fun starting a day and having minus health immediately. We only want to track what you didn't do yesterday and onwards to make sure that in the future you have that idea of oh, I need to get my things done, otherwise I'll get damaged tomorrow. And then all it is if a habit has been finished, then if a habit has been finished, then it is not going to do you any damage. If it is, it's going to do you 1 damage. And it just adds those up every day, so you can have a maximum of 3 damage. And then once we go into the health tracking, all it's doing is grabbing that value. It's then grabbing what your current health is, so 10, and that can be seen here. So level 1 is 10, and then that gets leveled up as we go forward. And then minus whatever the habit damage is. So 10 minus 3 is 7. So if I don't do my habits each day, I'll be taking 3 damage, and tomorrow I'll be at 7 health. And this just scales with your levels, just so it is a consistent amount of health and upkeep you need to be taking care of your habits each day. So if we go back over here, then we can start working into, make sure we're on the right screen. There we go. What this means then is that we have our habits that then gets logged into our health tracking. And once that's done, we then link that back to here to make sure that we do have our health value. So those 2 aspects are the main underlying current of how this whole system works. You have your experience, you have your health. Where we started to really play around with more ideas, however, was when we integrated gold and a shop value. So if we once again go back here, open up player avatar, close it, we have the shop, the transactions, and the gold tracking. So we'll start with the gold tracking. I'll start by drawing this one actually, because it's a lot easier. So if we have a gold value, this gold, much like experience, is, make sure I don't press that button, is just like the experience. When you finish tasks, you get a certain amount of gold for it. That's all that is. I showed you this before, where basically the gold value on your character, open this up full page. is based on the gold tracking aspect of, okay, well, I've done this amount of quests, I got this amount of experience, and then we get into the actual page, which in itself is just logging which tasks you completed, when you've done them, and then how much gold gain was from that. Now, obviously, with this, you have to have something to do. There's no point just collecting gold. I mean, you could be a dragon for all I know, but most of us like to spend the gold when we have it. So I needed to then also create a shop. So if I just put this here, this will fit, awesome. We have our shop, and this will have a different amount of items that you can then spend your gold on. So depending on what gold you've done, you can then go, oh, okay, well, I need some health, so I'm going to buy a potion, be it small, whatever, that then can heal me for 2 health. And one of the fun things about this is that I've created 3 main items that are outside of your main goals that are effectively changing or protecting your health value. Now, if you want to learn the code, it's all here in the free version that I'll be uploading, so you can get that for free. But the way it works is that there is 2 tiers of potions, each costing 50 or 100. This is based on how much experience you get for like doing a proper tasks and all that. It's connected then to your actual player avatar, so it knows who's it's going to be healing. The price tag, again, just that tag aspect of stylizing the details that we have, so how much something is worth. And then over here, behind my head, you can see that there is a can purchase. So all this is doing is it's taking the player avatar current gold value and then seeing if it is more or equal to the cost of the actual item. And by doing so, we're not giving you access to buy items and putting yourself in debt, because that, I don't want that in this. This is the whole process. And from there, all we're doing is that when you purchase the item, so the button over here, all it's doing is logging that then as a item in a transaction database, which is here. So as I buy an item, it's just going to go, here's the item, here's the shop value for it, here's the health change. So basically when here, if it has a healing value, it will then grab that value and then basically log it as, oh, here's how much it costs, here's the health that it said that it was going to be doing. Then when we go back to the health tracking, it will effectively go, oh, you are gaining this much health based on that. And this way you have a constant flow of what you've spent, what you've gained. So the shop itself, once you buy something, updates the gold value. It then goes over here to a transactions. That then, once again, just gets updated when it comes to the gold value, because this, am I going to be able to fit it in here? Let me try and reorganize some of this stuff so that I can still have an arrow pointing up there. The gold value, if I go down here, and then back up to here, you can see that the player avatar is where you access all of this data. And then, once we have all of that, if we have a transaction that heals health, we're also going to be going up through here, snaking along, and updating that health value. So if we go back through and do I have enough? I don't think I have enough money for it right now, so I'll be put into debt. But to show you how it works, oh no, I can purchase it, so I won't go into debt. If I purchase a small potion, what that will do is if I then go into transactions, you'll see it is logged here as an item that cost 50. Then in the gold tracking, you'll see now there is a gold spent based on the item purchased. And then also, if I go into the main menu and then go to health tracking, you'll be able to see that I now have a health change based on, right here, the transactions of health change. So I did have a certain amount of health that I gained, but also that's not going to go above the amount that's there. I can't go above my maximum amount of health, which is also a thing that I was really annoyed with when I first made it. The point being that when you are creating these, you are using these as items to heal yourself after you've taken damage. You're not going to I guess you could preemptively reload a bunch of money onto potions so that you never die, but that kind of ruins the point in my opinion. But the idea being that all of this is simply connected in a way that is a bunch of tracking databases and very little amounts of backtracking to update other things. It's always going to be pushing forward to then connect to the player avatar so that you can actually see everything you're doing based on just this one little avatar interface. So if I go back here, go to this one, this should be the main interface that you're looking at. So you can see I have my experience, I have my gold, I have my maximum health because I can't go above that value, and I can track my habits from there. Additionally, when we get into the quests, there is the different theming of if something is a main quest and a side quest. That in itself is going to be a whole thing I'm going through in a future video where I'm actually going to be explaining how I'm creating a step-by-step moment when you go through this to actually break down your goals, turn them into quests and whatnot. But yeah, that is effectively how my whole system works when it comes to the basic underlying structure. So if you have any questions about this, feel free to ask them in the description below. In a week, I'm going to be releasing the version 2.0 of the actual system. So likewise, if you want to get early access to this and then also the birthday deal that's going to be happening, feel free to click the link in the description to sign up to the email waitlist. Yeah, this is going to be something that is much better than the first version because I'm going to be adding a bunch of different things, which I'm also documenting over the next week. So again, feel free to come back. I'm going to be uploading a couple of videos over the next week that will show you this whole process. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.